What's Your Story with my co-host.
Lexi. What's up, JR?
Hey, now we both picked this one, and this was an interesting movie because you saw it a while back, and I actually saw it like 2 weeks ago again. But what movie we're talking about? Mama, as you could tell, the lilies in the back, the butterflies, who they are. You'll see when we talk about it. But yes, Mama, written and directed by Andy Muschietti and produced by the great Guillermo Del Toro.
Yes.
Now, this
I
film
saw
has
his name and I was
oh god,
excited.
he does he does good horror, and well, there's some horror that I wasn't too keen on. Crimson Peak, that one kind of hurts that you did that one, but this one, we actually have a good cast. We have Jessica Chastain. Y'all know her from different roles, but she was in Chapter 2 of Stephen King's It. She plays Annabelle. And we have Nikolai Castor, who plays Lucas. We have Megan, I hope I get your name right, Charpentier, who plays Victoria. We have Isabella Nelise, who plays Lily. And we have Javier Mote, who plays, you see right above me, Mama.
Mama.
So, what's the synopsis of this one? Well, after the discovery of his two missing nieces, Lucas and Annabelle take in the girls, but they soon realize that the girls were not the only visitors they welcomed into their house. So, Lexi, let's jump right into this. I mean, what did you think of the first few minutes of the film when we saw the father commit what he did and take the girls to the middle of nowhere, and to the point where the girls were actually found in the cabin by the two hunters? I mean, what did you think about this whole setup in the beginning of the movie?
It definitely put me on the edge of my seat. It had me pulled right in. Like, oh my God, is this father really about to do what he's about to do? Like, that's not a father. You lost that title the second you were telling her to, hey, look outside. There's a deer. And then he has the gun to the back of poor Victoria's head.
Correct.
The older sister. I liked the whole setup though, because I guess in the beginning it said he had bad business dealings and he shot his partners to, run from that. And then he shot his wife, which I don't see the reason for that. I don't know. Is it a bad relationship? I don't know. It happened fast. It was action from the very beginning, which I love. I love stuff like that because slow burns, you got to work for me. You got to pull me in. But this one started with action and I loved that. Very sad and very tragic what happens to the business partners, no matter what they did, to the wife, no matter what she did. And I pray to God that the girls weren't there when that happened, but we don't know. It just happened in a snap. It was quick. But to get the part of the cabin is what interested me most, because you don't know where. I mean, the movie's called Mama, so Mama's dead now. The wife got shot, so I'm like, wait, what's going on? Mom's dead and the show's called Mama. So it reels you in from the very beginning. And they get into that car accident, which I'm actually shocked they survived.
Yeah.
Because he was driving 100 miles an hour in the beginning, and I was saying the same thing as the daughter was, slow down, you're driving too fast. I'm screaming at the TV like, slow down. You have your two babies who had no seatbelts on. And I'm surprised they survived the crash. No seatbelts. So, little shit like that bothers me, but I'm not going to nitpick. So, to go from the car accident to the cabin, where it's very eerie, very creepy, very dark. He has a moment of a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
And, you think he's about to shoot himself, because he did hold the gun to himself for a split second and then he dropped it. You can murder people, but you're too, scared to kill your own self, which he deserved. I mean, you took your kid's mother away. You took two, I don't want to say innocent, because I don't know what his business was, but Yeah, any life taken is, innocent. But the part where he's telling his daughter to look out the window, and then he has the gun to the back of her head, and he took her glasses off. Now she's like me. I have to have my glasses. I can't see. I can barely see JR right now on the screen. I can barely see myself on the screen. But to, take her glasses off so she doesn't see what he has held up against her, behind her.
Yeah.
But then the part Mama comes in, that's a mother instinct. No matter if this is a scary ass bitch or not, that's a motherly instinct. You protect the babies. And that's what she did. She protected them of harm. And it sold me right there. The whole beginning sells you, and you just want more from it.
No, definitely. Yeah, I mean, as a father, I mean, my kids are they're my life, but the fact that he committed these acts and I mean, first of all, he didn't know where he was going. He was purely on the run. During a snowstorm, gets into an accident, takes these girls into the cabin where you had the sense that he was basically gonna kill both of them himself. And Mama stops him from doing it. And then all of a sudden, you get the time lapse where you have the two hunters in the woods. They stumble upon the cabin, and these two girls are now in feral state. With, what was it, like a pile of, was it like cherries?
Yeah, cherry pits.
Oh my God. And they've been surviving on this the whole time. And then, authorities get called in, and now fast forwards to the introduction of Lucas and Anabelle, who go in and, they're happy that his nieces was found. And I think one of another heartfelt moment was when he walked into the room where Victoria is basically hiding behind the bed and Lily's under the bed. And as soon as he walks in, he gives her the glasses, and the first thing she goes, "Daddy." You're like, oh my God,
They do look alike.
Yeah, they do very alike.
Yeah.
But that was a heartfelt moment. You're like, wow. And then, it's just, you get this sense of where Lucas is an artist, so he doesn't have a good paying job. Annabelle's basically works at she's in the band. Does she work? Did they even say she works? I don't think she works. She's more like just does the band. So now you have this whole thing where Lucas is fighting for custody of the kids against the sister. Is basically his brother's sister-in-law who wants the kids. So now you get this whole thing put into an equation where Lucas, Anabelle, and these two girls are put in the house because a psychiatrist wants to study the girls, and then wonder what is going on with them and this attachment to this character called Mama. But yeah, it's definitely it does pull you in. It pulls you in with sentimental, right. Especially as a parent. That's one of the movies that did it in such a good way, because the first thing you think about, how could you do this to your spouse, and right, how can you put a gun to the back of your daughter's head?
And that's why I liked Mama, who actually looks very freaky and creepy.
Tori was under the bed. Don't look at her.
I'm just the hotter version of her, but I thought she was so creepy, but she was actually the good person in this and protecting the children. She comes off as a bad one, and she really is just wanting the love of a child. So, I mean, they're not hers, but we'll get into that. Yeah. I loved that she protected them. She had their best interest at heart, whereas father obviously didn't.
Right.
And can we talk about how creepy, fast, because they were 3 and 1 at the time.
Yeah.
And now they're a couple years older, I think possibly 5 or 6 to now.
Yeah, they didn't really give a time jump how long it was.
I want to say 6 and 3. It was just a couple of years, because they said 2 years later. So.
Oh, that's right. And she was a baby. Lily was a baby still.
Yeah. So now she's 3, and now the other one's 5. So how creepily those two hunters walk in, and they see these poor things And we get introduced to their ways through the pictures they drew on the wall. So I thought that was very cool and very vital to the story. And that was in the opening credits, if you've seen it.
Yeah.
It was in the opening credits, and then they come out and just creepily. Yeah, I thought those hunters were gonna get killed by the kids.
Oh yeah.
I had to hold my cat. I was scared a little bit. It was one of those moments where nothing really like scares me, but that kind of like kids are creepy.
Oh, they're very creepy, especially when they jump on top of a fridge.
Yeah, and then the other one Lily gets under Victoria, and
yeah,
holy crap, very freaky.
I love that.
The whole scene was awesome from, just the first segment.
Even the hunter's reaction. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I think we found them, and you're like, oh, thank God they got found.
Yes, thank God. So, what did you think of the character Mama? I'm just gonna say this real quick. She kind of reminded me of a movie we just recently talked about, Z, but a much cooler, fucking awesome version. But it was eerily the same, almost, but so much more cooler. So the story has much more of a purpose. Just wanted to point that out. It reminded me of it. But what did you think of Mama and about her past? Because they did give us her background, her story.
Yeah, let's talk about her past real quick, because we get a glimpse of it through a POV when Annabelle's actually having a dream about Mama. And Mama, the character, she lived in a psychiatric hospital, and she had a baby. They don't say how she had the baby, but she had the baby, and you get the scene where she's like walking, knife in hand, kills the nun, grabs the baby, and goes on the run. And then she goes to this edge of a cliff. She holds the baby and she jumps because she wanted to basically end her life with the baby. But unfortunately, when she ended her life, it wasn't with the baby still in her hands.
Right.
We'll soon find out later what happened to the baby. But I like that backstory because you got an understanding of why she was protective of Lilly and Victoria. So she did have that strong connection with them. And even when they went into the house, you have certain scenes where Mama's playing with Lilly and Victoria. They're tugging on the blankets together.
You guys know what time it is? Don't go in the closet. Why not? What's in the closet?
And Mama was very, very overprotective because she knew Lucas was a threat to her. So she takes out Lucas first. Basically, he goes over the rail and he's going to the hospital. Now you got Anabelle who ends up coming to the mix, who, let's be honest, Anabelle didn't want anything to do with the kids. Anabelle came off as, listen, I have my own life. This is your problem. This is not my problem. This is not my responsibility as kids. Right. But as it goes on, you start seeing how Mama now sees Anabelle as a threat. Right. I like the fact that Mama was scary looking. She was, the way they did her was just freaky, and the actor who portrayed her, kudos, man, he did an amazing job doing it. But yeah, her character, the way the scenes where she felt like she was even more threatened, how the girls knew, and don't do that. Like when Victoria hugged Anabelle, behind her shaking her head, like, don't do that. And you felt sympathy for Mama, even though she was technically the villain in this, but she wasn't really a villain. She was just. She
wasn't trying to be.
No, she just cared for the girls. The girls survived because of her.
Right.
And she didn't want the girls basically to stop loving her, which that's what got her ire. That's what made her attack Anabelle and Lucas. But yeah, I love the character of Mama. What about you?
The first people she meets that come into that eerie cabin are two little girls. So those are the first kids she sees, and she thinks they're her children. I love seeing Annabelle's growth from, like you said, not wanting kids at all. She even took a pregnancy test, said, oh, thank God. Yeah. And so she doesn't want that responsibility, but I loved her growth in now wanting to take care of. I mean, she was forced into it. Her Lucas gets knocked out. That I thought he died. I thought he broke his
I
head.
thought he died too.
At first, down the stairs, because he saw the moths, or I think they're moths.
Yeah,
they look like moths. Through the wall, and then Mama pushes him down the stairs because he was a threat. And I don't think she found Anabelle as a threat because she, she's obviously listening. She's in the house and in the walls. So, like, the walls are listening, right?
yeah.
So she knows Anabelle wants nothing to do with this situation until she starts investigating. She starts talking with that therapist, who I liked. We'll get more into him. But she saw the progression of Anabelle, and now she's getting attached. And now, not only she didn't, I felt like there was not so much of a change with Anabelle, but she saw the change in Victoria. She saw that, she's going towards Anabelle, and so now that jealousy starts to kick in with Mama.
Yeah.
And like you said, she's not trying to be the bad person; she is the villain. But I mean, because she's putting people in harm, Lucas, and killing the father, and so she's a villain. But I'd be a villain too if it came to my kid. So, like, I'm an overprotective mama, so I feel her. But her backstory, the past, was an awesome touch. I loved that we got the glimpse, and it was through Anabelle's eyes, who's, so to speak, a stepmother. So we got to see, a mother-to-mother situation. The backstory with, stabbing the nun, running through the woods. Special effects were awesome at that
Yes.
point. They were so awesome. The flashback, the era was different. Like, it was awesome. The baby. Okay, so she has the baby in her hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she takes the leap over the cliff, and you see the big-ass branch. And I was like, oh, crap, they're both dead. Nope, she kept going. She's in the water, floating. And the baby's... I bet you anything the baby was still alive. And hung there. But, like, they don't find bodies, right? I don't think.
The baby, they found they had the baby's body.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was in police evidence. That's right. But God knows how long that baby was there. Hanging on that branch, alive, starving, malnourished. Or, like, we don't even really get that answer. How long was that baby there, hanging on the branch for dear life? Did it die from starvation? Did it, like...
I think it had its skulls, because when they showed the skull, it was crushed. There was a crack.
It was... Oh, yeah, you're right. It was cracked. So, yeah, then it was instant death, I guess. That's sad.
No, it's sad. I thought the other scene, too, because, like, Victoria started pulling away from Mama to go to Anabelle. Yeah. But you got the feeling that it didn't really bother Mama too much. What hit Mama harder was that scene where Lily gets up and Mama wants to go play outside. And it's in the middle of the night. And Victoria goes, no, Victoria, stay. Right. Lily got mad, hit Victoria. And then all of a sudden, when Anabelle comes to the room, she sees Lily's not nowhere in the room, looks out the window, Lily's under a tree in the backyard.
Right.
So she goes outside, grabs her, and she's trying to hug her. Now, Lily's resisting. Lily's fighting back, but she's trying to warm up her hands to the point where she starts blowing her hands. And Lily goes calm. And Lily's just like looking at her. I think it was at that point where my mom was like, nah, you know what?
Right. Because throughout the entire movie, so that everyone understands, Lily was very resistant to Anabelle. She didn't want nothing to do with her. She loved Mama so much. Like, that's her ride and die.
Yeah.
But that moment, yeah, you're right. That was a turn of events for Mama. And it was time to take Anabelle out.
Now, let's jump right into, now, if you haven't watched this movie, just know this movie is compared to other, like, sad endings as far as horror movies. Like, the saddest ending for any horror movie, I don't care what you think, is Stephen King's The Mist. That ending, have you watched that ending?
Yes.
Stephen King's The Mist? That is the most tragic, saddest ending in any horror movie. The ending in Mama is up there, right behind it. And you can actually go Google it. You'll see Mama is up there as one of the saddest endings in for a horror movie. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that you had these events happen. We'll start from the point where the psychiatrist. I know you want to talk about him, where he pushes Victoria to the point where Mama finally shows herself,
Right.
and then from there, it leads to the ending. A couple of events to the ending. I mean, what did you think of that whole point from where Mama reveals herself to the psychiatrist to the way the film ended?
I loved the psychiatrist. I thought he was a good touch to the whole film because he wasn't one of those psychiatrists like, oh, it's just a delusion. Like they always brush it off. You notice? So this one actually was in tune and loved his job. Was very passionate. Was very interested in their story, and he did his research. He went to libraries. He drove to places. Like he was really invested in this in these two little girls. And remember, in the beginning, Lucas was going to lose the kids to the aunt.
Yeah.
Which I wanted to beat that ass. I wanted to beat her ass so bad. I'm so glad she did. Bye. So back to the psychiatrist explaining, you're about to lose the kids to Aunt Jean, and the only way we can win this, because she's got a job, she's got a house, she's got a good place. Like she's gonna win this unless you let me take care of these girls. You let me keep seeing them and treating them and find out what's going on. If you go into this house rent free, which is a beautiful house.
Yes.
I'm like, rent free, damn. Yeah, so they were all about that. But yeah, I like that introduction with the therapist because, like I said, he was very passionate. He did his fucking homework from A to Z. Then, unfortunately, he dies. I really didn't want him to do, but the way he died was to the very end of his research.
Yeah.
But and you notice he's tape recording throughout the movie. And that's what they do, therapists. They record for their notes and stuff, but he recorded at the very end. He said, I want answers, and I'm going to leave here with an answer. And he unfortunately doesn't get to leave. He goes back to the cabin where he finds out, what was it? Cliff Forge. I think that's what it was called. So he got the answers, but he wasn't able to go and tell, So, yeah, I thought he was a good touch to the whole movie overall.
No, yeah, he was very good touch. I mean, he was interested, but he was also, you get the notion that he wanted to write a book as well, because this case was very good to him in the fact that he did want the girls to basically come back into society, get accustomed to Lucas and Anabelle. He definitely wanted to see them grow, so he was invested in them
because they were so in bad shape when he found them. So he was very interested on their growth, and from going like that, being on all fours and creepy, and to now, and we see the progression of Victoria better than we do with Lilly.
Yeah, because he had this scene where he talked about, he was telling them how Victoria created this character Mama as a mother figure, a guardian, while they were out in the cabin, which it was interesting because while he's going on and doing that, Lucas gets to, like, he's in the hospital. He starts dreaming with his brother, who basically wants him to save his daughters. So you get this whole thing where, I'll leave the auntie for you, but you get this whole thing culminating where now Mama is on the attack. Mama wants Anabelle out of the equation. Mama wants her kids, but Mama has, how to put it, she's up to something because she wants her kids permanently with her.
Right.
So I'll let you tell me what happened with Jean.
So yes, a little short summary of Auntie Jean. She is the sister-in-law of in the very beginning, remember we mentioned the dad kills the wife. So I think she's the sister of that wife. And so she wants custody of these girls. She had a very great chance of winning. She ends up losing, but she wants to see the girls every week. And so there's that moment with Anabelle where she comes and visit. Oh, I thought your visit was Thursday. It is Thursday. And she comes in and she thinks, oh, it's abuse. It's just trauma from what they went through. They still have old cuts. And so she took it as, and kids, like Anabelle said, kids get bruises. It happens. They run around. They do dumb shit. So she took it overboard. And just to fast forward on this bitch, and I'm glad Mama took her out, because I would have taken her out too. But she makes a dumb decision to try and, she calls child services and they need proof of this abuse. And so she tries to sneak in the house to capture the abuse, and Mama hears her come in, and she knows she's a threat immediately because she wants the girls to herself. She wants to have custody of those girls. So Mama's like, okay, I was about to kill Anabelle. Let me just sink down, down the walls, down the stairs, and kill this bitch. But I love the way she kills her, because she actually gets, I guess, takes her whole body in. And then you see her turn around in the kitchen, and she's just like Mama. She's, freaking out. And then she ends up at the cabin. Fast forwarding to the cabin, she's at the cabin, and like her whole body just like melts down, and it's just her skin, I believe. She kills her from inside out, basically. So I loved that Auntie was out, because she was, I about throat punched her myself through the TV.
So let's talk about that clip scene. So now you have basically Lucas going to save his nieces. You have Mama standing there, basically right up. Actually, no, Mama doesn't appear until she comes out from behind the cliff.
Right.
But at the same time, you have Anabelle, who goes to recover the body of the baby. So you had this.
You almost had it.
Yes, you had this whole scene where Mama wants basically to take the two girls and jump over the cliff with them. So you have a struggle between Lucas, Mama, and Anabelle. I mean, do you want to talk about like how you viewed that and what you thought of that as part of the ending?
So the part where Anabelle brings her baby to her, like here, like she's trying to basically buy her into the situation of, here's your baby, we found her, this is what you've been looking for the whole time, so please let my girls go. Because basically now, like we said, Anabelle wasn't wanting to be a mother. Then we saw her growth of trying to be a mother. She wasn't a mother, but she was trying to be. And she was starting to make the right choices in the best interest of the girls. But she's trying to basically, hey, here's your baby. Let's trade off. Give me my girls back for Lucas, because she loves the man. She gotta love the man if she really didn't want it. And she tells her bandmates, like, I didn't sign up for this. Yeah. But she ends up going along with it anyways. And she falls for it for a moment. You think that's how it's going to end. Thank God. And the girls are, and then happily ever after. No, that's not how it ends. Like you said, it's going to end tragically, like the end of The Mist. And if you haven't seen The Mist, it's a good one. Sad fucking ending.
Yes.
Because it didn't need to go down that way. Poor dad. But anyways, that's a different What's Your Story episode.
Oh, yeah.
For another time over a glass of wine. But she ends up hearing Lily's voice and says, because Lily goes, Mama, and she has open arms. And that was Mama's whole thing. She's open arms. She wants love of her child. And Lily's the most loving towards her.
Yes.
And so I found it sad that the first thing was that she threw the remains of her actual child into the water and takes Lily. And, Victoria's like, please, Lily, just stay with me. And she said, no, Victoria, come. And she's, they're mentioning each other's names. And Victoria's like, no, I'm staying. She has an actual shot at life staying. Like, she's coming back to reality. Whereas Lily, she was only 1 year old when all of this happened. We have to remember, we can't convince someone that started at such a young age. She was raised by mama. She has no recollection of dad or mom, the real parents. She was 1 year old. And this is, I wish we had our friend Joe the psychologist, because, and I don't know the actual medical terms, but we have a 1 year old being raised by a phenomenon, mama.
Yeah.
And that's all she knows. Of course she's going to be veered more towards this mama. And so I do get the ending, but I hate the part that the sisters are being separated.
Goodbye, Mama. I love you. Victoria, come. Victoria, stay. Come. Lily, Mama, Victoria. No. Lily, Mama.
And like, it is sad. It's very sad. I think The Mist was sadder, but that ending was sadder. But it is sad because the sisters are separated. Lucas loses one of his nieces, and like, that's a custody issue. Like, where did Auntie go, for one? That's like, we have so many, but that's, I guess, a prequel. A sequel or something. But it is sad, like, but I get why the separation, because again, that's who raised Lily.
No, I totally agree. It was one of those things. I'll be honest, when I first watched it, I'm like, no, really. But like you said, Lily didn't want anything to do with the world she lives in now, because her world was Mama.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mama nurtured her, Mama loved her, Mama cared for her.
Mm-hmm.
Victoria was already at that. Even when Victoria was at the cabin, Victoria was smart. Even when you get a glance at her when she's, with the dad, Victoria is very smart. So yeah. Victoria was ready to be a part of, go to school, be normal. Lily didn't know. Lily didn't want to know what normal was, and she didn't care for normal. I liked it the way they did it though, because when they were plunging towards the water, you get this thing of Lily being, I mean, it was adorable. Lily playing with Mama, touching her face, and then Mama turned into what she used to look like.
Right.
And you saw the love in Mama's eyes. There was no fake love. It wasn't one of those things you're sacrificed. No. There was a good connection. And what happened when they hit the branch, they turned into moths or butterflies.
Right.
And that one came back to Victoria. Victoria was like, Lily?
Basically, I'm okay.
Yeah, so you get that sense that even though Lily moved on, that Lily's still around. And she's still going to be around for Victoria.
It's basically what I said. It's her way of saying, I'm okay. This is my mom. That's okay if that's your mom. This is the way I was raised. This is the only person I know. Yes, you're my sister, but this is my mom. This is all I knew. Yeah. All I know. And for Victoria to be as smart as she was from 3 to 5 years old, I mean, she was very well spoken even at 3. Daddy, what's that? And, so I love that Victoria snapped back into reality, but it's very unfortunate Lily doesn't.
Well, it's one of those things.
There's no excuse. It's just, it is what it is. That's the facts. She was raised by Mama.
Well, at the same time, it's another movie where the villain kind of wins, even though she's not a villain.
Right.
But you're kind of sad, but you're kind of happy at the same time, because she never got a chance to raise her child, but she raised Lily to a certain point. So she still got the child she always wanted. Fortunately, she ended the life's child short, but it was one of those endings where you have the mixed feelings. You kind of want the sisters to stay together, but you kind of understood where Mama was coming from. You kind of understood where Lily was coming from because I don't think Lily would have been happy if she would have stayed with the family.
Right.
But yeah, it was definitely interesting.
Anytime Lily smiled, it was when Mama was there.
Yes, such a beautiful. I mean, that ending where she's laughing and giggling. I mean, that was just
Yeah.
man. Look at her. How can you not like that?
She's so cute.
Jeez. All right, so yeah, I mean, we talked about this. Now let's jump into our ratings storyline. I mean, what do you think of the storyline in this one?
So the storyline is definitely a 5 for me because there were so many layers to the story. We had the story of Lucas, the story of Anabelle, the story of the 2 girls, the story of Mama, the story of the therapist. Like there were so many, like an onion, so many layers to it, and each story was peeled beautifully and eloquently and beautifully tragically. So it's like the whole thing worked for me from beginning to end. It had my attention from beginning to end. And I'm not going to nitpick. Some parts bothered me, like the ending. But I get it. I do get it. It works. It works for me. I didn't like that the sisters are separated, but it works. So I have no issues with it.
For me, I give it a 4.5. If I was to have one nitpick on it, I wish we would have had more dreams with Lucas as the father trying to reach out to Lucas. The fact that we only had that one, I was like, man, you should have been reaching out to your brother more to go save your daughters. You know, even though you hated what the father did, but just to have him reach out a little bit more instead of just that one scene, I kind of wanted that. But yeah, 4.5 for me. I mean, it's a beautifully written story. Right from the beginning, it hits you with, you're sympathetic for these girls. You want the best for these girls, and even towards the end, you want the best for them. But you understood what happened, why they were separated, and Lily's happy. I mean, Victoria's happy. But yeah, storyline wise, yeah, 4.5 for me. What about the characters?
Oh, Anjin 0. She can get a 0 automatically. Maybe a 1 for playing a good bitch, but yeah. Overall, I felt so. Mama is definitely a 5. Definitely a 5. The 2 girls are definitely a 5. I feel like everyone's a 5 for many different reasons. Mama, she was the best one. The 2 little girls did their part very well, but I also loved Annabelle's growth. I have said it before. She went from not wanting any type of responsibility to stepping up because Lucas is in the hospital in a coma throughout the whole movie, basically. Yeah. I wanted a little more from Lucas, but I did love that and you're right, I did want more of his connection with the brother. And the brother made the right decision in the very end. He told him, go to the cabin.
Yeah.
And so he does. I wish there was more to that cabin scene.
Yeah.
But because we had more cabin scene with the therapist than we did with the brother. I mean, why are we going there for what? Right. It's not like you burnt the house down and the whole thing ended, because that's what I was kind of expecting. Oh, is he gonna go and burn the house down, or what's going on? And it just disintegrates Mama's spirit out of there, and they didn't go with it, so it just kind of stopped there. But yeah, overall, I think all characters got a 5 from me. I loved every single one for different reasons.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're all 5. Lily and Victoria, I mean, these 2 actresses are amazing. The way they pull their characters. I mean, you felt bad for them when you see them when they were feral, and when they start getting back into normal life. Even though Lily still likes to eat on the floor.
Lily stayed feral.
Yeah, Lily slept under the bed.
8 months.
Yes, I do agree with you with Anabelle, because the way I looked at it is, you understood Lucas's part. Lucas was looking for the girls for a long time, and once he was pushed out of the equation, it forced Anabelle to basically evolve as a character. So she did evolve to the point where I didn't want the girls to. I want the girls, and I'll risk my life. Because remember, there's that one scene where was it Mama kept touching Anabelle to put her to sleep, and as she's dragging the girls, and she kept fighting. Yeah. point where even as she's passed out, she reached out and grabbed Victoria's robe.
And motherly instinct decision.
And what did Mama do? Mama let Victoria go, turned around, basically said goodbye to Victoria, and then left with Lilly. So
they basically made a deal. You take one, I'll take the other.
Yeah. Which is good. I mean, you kind of like that. Annabelle got that because Annabelle was getting closer and closer. Remember, Victoria hugged her and told her, "I love you."
Yeah.
Something that Lily was never going to do. But yeah, 4.5 for me. So what about overall? What would you rate this movie?
I'm going to definitely give it a 4 because I wanted more from Lucas. I get why they knocked him out and put him into coma about majority of the movie, but he was fighting from the very beginning. So I thought like he was going to be in on this. They're going to work together. But it, like you said, it did force Anabelle to grow as a character. Yeah. And he was still good, even in his subconscious mind. I mean, he had these images. Then he got up and left the hospital without even telling them. So I just wanted more from him. Wanted more from the therapist. Yeah, he had great scenes, and I had more of him than I did of Lucas. But I wish he didn't die. I didn't want him to die. Yeah. I liked it overall. Overall, it's a 4 for me. But the characters definitely
great cast.
Great cast for sure. And to be that young, those 2 little girls, to be that young and to crawl the way they did, and I'm sure half of it's CGI, but still, it was awesome. And their characters were very strong, even for being as young as 3 and 5, according to the movie.
Yeah. For me, I agree. I'm gonna give it a 4. Like I said, the 2. Actually, I might add another nitpick. I wanted more of Lucas's, brother reaching out to his brother while he's, dreaming in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
The one question I have though is, why the cabin? What was up with that cabin? Because
exactly,
she was in the asylum, she jumped, and then unless she's just. The one thing you could probably throw in an explanation is maybe she's roaming the woods looking for the baby, and just happened to stumble upon the cabin when the girls.
Right. It was kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could explain because there was nothing explaining why the cabin of all places.
And that's why I was so confused when they were going back to the cabin, and I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna burn it down, or is that is her spirit attached to it, and why? It's not like, even in her flashback, she never ran to that cabin. No. It had nothing to do with that cabin. No. So it's like a random cabin.
She roamed in the woods waiting for kids to come around.
Yeah, that could be the only explanation of it, is that she roamed around. But she doesn't roam around. She ran from the church of stabbing the nun out to the cliff, jumped, and died. So there's no explanation of the cabin.
She comes through a hole in the wall and then turns into.
Yeah. It's like her spirit haunted it for some reason. Yeah, but I do like. I don't know. The cabin was not needed. You're right.
For the girls having the place that they're stuck at. I understand that part was just, why else in the cabin?
Is the cabin near that cliff? Yeah, it was, because it was down here, and they looked up and said, "Oh my God, they're up there." So, but it's still a distance there.
Yeah. So that's our rating for this episode of What's Your Story, Mama? So, Lexi, you want to tell them what we're going to do next?
Since we've kind of already hinted it, let's talk about The Mist next time. Ooh. Yes. Another tragic ending. I know we kind of mentioned it, but there's way more to it. So I can't wait to talk about that one.
Bring your box of tissues.
Yes, bring the box
of wine.
And I believe yes, you know me. I actually got the whole bottle with me. We're gonna need it for next time. But it's, I believe, a Stephen King.
Yeah, Stephen King. This is our first Stephen King film we're gonna review.
It
is.
Love it.
Master of horror.
Yes.
But a lot of his movies don't transition well. So did The Mist transition well as a movie? guess we're gonna have to see.
You're gonna have to tune in by
that-
subscribing,
Share,
like,
subscribe,
sharing, comment.
or Lily's gonna come after you looking like that.
Not the hot version, that ugly one.
All right, so that's it for this episode of What's Your Story. Thank you for watching once again. Next episode, The Mist. We're winding down. We have a couple more episodes for this season, but thank you for watching. Grab your wine, grab a box of tissues for the next one, and join us for What's Your Story. It's JR.
Lexi.
Peace.